So currently, COVID has been around now for over 2 years, and it's hard to imagine that all of this stuff has happened the way it has. And for those who can recall, when everything started, there were so many cases, and many people were getting sick, and this was happening globally, so across the entirety of the planet, and save for a select few places. But because of that and the amount of cases that we were having, it was identified as a pandemic, meaning that it is encompassing the entirety of so Pangea sort of relates to sort of the beginning of all planets. So we think of the entire world being affected by this. And what we've been trying to do is get through it and find ways to treat and navigate it. So you may have heard a lot about vaccines, which are used to protect you from COVID, either by not getting it, or if you do get it, the symptoms are very mild. And then masking, which has also been very important as well. And many of us have had to mask pretty consistently over the last couple of years. And we found that over, I would say, about 4 or 5 months ago, we started to kind of decrease sort of the mandates around masking, because we've found that the cases started to go down as well. And the reason for that is, so when you have a wave of COVID, and we've had a few waves, meaning that there's a large amount of cases in a short period of time, is a lot of people are getting sick. And fortunately, many of those people who are getting sick are becoming healthy. And when they become healthy again, they become immune to COVID for a select period of time. We have data to show that that period is usually around 3 to 4 months, where you're pretty well protected from COVID infections at that time. But you can get it again after that period, because your body loses its defense mechanisms. But when that happens, and a lot of people get it, majority of that group will sort of become immune, and the numbers sort of go down collectively. So you sort of see this trend where a lot of people get sick, but then the numbers go back down. This tends to happen more in the winter time in general, with a lot of infections like the flu. We find that people get the flu, it's usually in the winter. We don't see it as much in the summer. COVID kind of follows that trend a little bit because of how you can get it through the air, like coughing and those kind of things. So we tend to see it in that trend. But so in summary, we've had, a lot of ups and downs, and currently we're on the down phase. Our last wave was sort of in like that December, January area, particularly in Vermont. And we're seeing that the cases are still happening, but to a lower degree. What's happening around the world, though, is we're seeing less and less cases over time as well too. So we're getting to a point where we're going to transition from this pandemic phase to an endemic phase, meaning that the number of cases are not so high on an international scale, but they are still there. And many people are still getting sick to that degree, but just the number of cases is not as much as it used to be. So thankfully, we're collectively heading in the right direction, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And we're also seeing data to show that when we're lowering our mask mandates, we're finding that the rates of infection also increase coincidentally too. So we're trying to balance the safety of the public with the mental and emotional health needs of the public too, because it's hard wearing masks. It's hard to, have to go someplace and, have to be 6 feet away from someone you really love or care about. And it's really difficult. So I think we're sort of in this middle ground phase of trying to balance both of those things. So overall, we're heading in that right direction, and things are becoming a little bit smoother. But we're still not there yet, and we still have a lot more work to do in terms of decreasing the amount of cases, either with mask wearing or vaccines, or with social distancing and the like. It's always possible that we can have another wave if we think of this as the flu. So again, that collective goal of sticking with vaccinations and masking can really help to mitigate that process.